So the F1 season is over, and I have to admit, it was actually a pretty good season that we had this past season. We have seen a lot of good drivers excel this season, such as Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc. However, though, we saw some shit. Checo Perez, Logan Sargent, and Lance Stroll, and which we all know is not really too surprising, just based off the season. But let's go ahead and let's hop into my 2024 team rankings from this past F1 season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. But these are my thoughts I want to share with you guys. But as always, if you guys do enjoy, don't forget to like the video and sub as well. Outside that, let's get it. Coming in number one, also we have Red Bull, who I'm giving them a B on the season. Now it's crazy because Max Verstappen did win his fourth straight Red Bull title. But the season itself from Red Bull wasn't as dominant, and it also had some behind the scenes issues as well. There was not as dominant because Checo took a big step back this year. I mean, he didn't get a single race win this year. I don't know what was going on with Checo. A lot of people thought he's a very, very good second driver, but that just wasn't the case this season. Past few years, Checo's been one of the best number two drivers, but to not have a win, like I mentioned, this whole season is pretty bad. But knowing Red Bull, I'm not be surprised to see him go. We have already seen talks about Yuki Tsunoda or like Liam Lawson potentially taking that spot. Who knows? But we also can't forget about the issue between Max's dad and Christian Horner this past season. Just the issues that was going on with Max, like being threatened, talking about like he may actually leave the team potentially. Red Bull winning the Drivers' Championship for stopping fourth. It worked out still for the team, but they gotta get it B because Checo Perez hurt them. Next, we have McLaren, and for me, they get a solid A. I mean, what a season for McLaren this past season. Winning the Constructors, the first they won a smooth minute. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri have been probably proven to show to be like the best duo in F1. We're going to see about that. But Ferrari may have something to say about that with Lewis Hamilton joining Charles Leclerc next season. And if they are able to replicate this form, McLaren for next season, don't be surprised if they're able to get a win. Not just the Constructors again, but could Lando Norris get his first Drivers' Championship, or even Oscar Piastri? Like I said, they gotta get an A in my book for the season that they had. Yeah, there was some bit drama between Oscar and Lando, but when you have two potential like A drivers who are competing against each other, it's bound to happen. Now let's hop into Ferrari, and with them, they're one of the most consistent teams this season, with big credit to Charles Leclerc and his effort this season. With his memorable win at Monaco, which I was so happy about, just how much Monaco means to Leclerc. It just add extra points to his resume for this season. I mean, just Mr. Consistent, absolute Mr. Consistent with multiple wins. Very happy with Charles Leclerc. He's been easily a top 3 driver this season. But we also can't forget about Carlos Sainz and what he brought to this team as well. Even after being sick for that one race, absolutely still had a pretty good season. And it sucks to see him leave Ferrari. With the addition of Lewis Hamilton, though, taking the place of the departing Carlos Sainz, Ferrari are going to look ever dangerous this season. It's going to be interesting to see if Lewis if he still has that knack for like the wins and driving and stuff like that, joining Ferrari. But Carlos Sainz leaving to join Williams, it's unfortunate for him because he's still like a top driver for a top team. But we'll see what he does with Williams. But you can't be happy and you cannot be a bit excited to see how this Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc partnership is going to work next season. For me, they get an A. It's a low A, high B, but for me, they get an A. Speaking about Mercedes, actually, Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton finally leaves Mercedes after probably one of the most dominant, just winning times in F1 history. I mean, absolutely outstanding we have seen between a team and one F1 driver. But if you look at it specifically for this season, George Russell, you could say, outperformed Lewis Hamilton. And it's not the first time we have said that since they have been partners at Mercedes. Mercedes are going to be fine with George Russell being their main man for the future, because obviously Lewis Hamilton is leaving to join Ferrari. But with Kimi Antonelli coming in, taking Lewis' spot, it will be interesting to see how Kimi challenges George over the course of a full season. Because George Russell is basically taking that big boy spot, and Kimi Antonelli is not no joke. Very highly touted rated coming into F1. For me, Mercedes get a low B, bit mid B. It's a bit average because I still expected more from them. But George Russell did a very, very good job. So I have to say a mid B, I'll say. Mid B. But hey, listen, still good. A B's a B. Aston Martin. Ugh. Where to start? Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso. Also, coming off the season they had last year, which Aston Martin was probably one of the most surprisingly good teams last season, to take this big of a step back this past season. Last season, like I said, they were mentioned to say the least, mainly because of Fernando Alonso and his renaissance of age. I mean, he looked like the old Fernando Alonso, a lot of us, well, not me, I wasn't watching F1 back then, but prime Fernando Alonso. The car itself, didn't really help itself this past season. It just wasn't that great compared to the past season. And then obviously we gotta talk about Lance Stroll. Every race it felt like it was something involving him. If he was taking somebody out, if he was getting DNFs. But there was times, like I've always said regarding Lance Stroll, there's times which if he's not in no like BS or no foolishness on the track, he can actually finish in like a top 10. It's just, how often do we see that? How long do we give Lance Stroll this past upcoming season? But they did finish 5th in the Constructors, somehow. But how long do we give Lance Stroll a season, especially with Adrian Newey, one of the greatest F1 engineers in the F1 history, coming into this Aston Martin team? Lance Stroll still has the money. We still expect Lance Stroll to be on the scene for next season with Aston Martin. Let's just see what goes down. They get a C for me, average because of Fernando Alonso, but it's a close D as well. But I'll probably say a low, solid C. Next, unfortunately, we have Alpine. The two French drivers have finally broken up. Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly. Esteban Ocon is finally leaving Alpine to join Haas. Pierre Gasly is going to stay at Alpine. And big changes are going to be coming their way. But we also cannot forget about these two drivers getting a podium in Brazil, which was easily the highlight of their season. And I was pretty happy about that. It's always good to see, his mid-team get 2 spots in the podium. Pretty impressive. I was hoping they would compete and challenge for that 5th spot in the Constructors, but ultimately they came up short. And also, we cannot forget that the internal battle between Ocon and Pierre Gasly, not just this season, but like instances, even go back to like a few seasons back and even last year, has been happening for a minute. With Ocon moving to Haas and Jack Doohan coming in, Gasly's going to take more of this veteran role, which is Alpine team. For me, they get a C. Next, we have the homegrown American team, Haas. And I will say, even with Steiner leaving, it was still one of the best seasons they have had recently. 2 veteran drivers, Hulkenberg and K-Mac, weren't actually bad this season. You know what I mean? Obviously, come to the season, so I was leaving, like I said, so I was a tad bit concerned with the direction of this team. But after the Italian GP, the second time they raced there, they were getting points outside of the Brazilian GP. And that's big credits, mostly Nico Hulkenberg, because K-Mac was having these point issues, I feel like, every race. Track limits, this, penalty this, flag this. I mean, my gosh. Come on, bro. But Nico Hulkenberg going to kick Sauber next season. Pretty happy with that. Let's see what goes down. This team was highly impressive towards the end. And to your standard, they get a B. They get a low B for me just because of what the standard of this team is in a lot of people's eyes. But for them to do what they did, that's a B in my part. With 2 new drivers coming in, and Esteban Ocon and Ollie Bearman, if Haas can improve on this season, next season can be even better. But unfortunately, for Nico Hulkenberg, we probably will see him. K-Mag, unfortunately, is going to be gone. And then we got to talk about RB, aka RB Cash App, however you want to say it. Just Cash App. Disappointing. Very, very disappointing season for them. I just wasn't really happy with how they did a lot of things this season. Obviously, Daniel Rick and Yuki Tsunoda both started the season off. Daniel Rick, who I thought was going to challenge Yuki Tsunoda a lot better, just didn't work out, and he unfortunately got axed halfway through the season. And that's probably going to be the end of Daniel Rick's career. We love Daniel Rick, his enthusiasm, his energy, and stuff like that. But so long, my friend. So long. But the car itself wasn't good, and it led to scarce points they've had as well. But Liam Lawson, who did come in, actually showing he has the capability to be a decent F1 driver. There was times he looked good, but then there was also times he looked kind of iffy. But still a very, very young driver. But we got to give big shouts to Yuki Tsunoda in the way he raced this season. Like I said, the car wasn't great, but he did his best and even left with a few top 10 finishes. And also, like I mentioned earlier, with Red Bull and potentially Checo Perez leaving, could Yuki Tsunoda get that Red Bull spot? We could see. But for me, RB Cash App get a low C, a low C, high D. But like I said, Yuki Tsunoda tried as much as he can, but it just seemed like it was just a lot of just stuff going on with the people leaving, stuff like that. Average at best, but to me, they get a low D, high C. And with the two remaining teams left with Williams and Craig Sauber, let's just kick it off. Ooh, no pun intended. Williams, disappointing. Honestly disappointing. You guys know how big I was on Alex Albon last season, and just very hoping he could do a lot of good things, but that just wasn't the case for this past season. The great American hope in Liam Lawson was ultimately axed after just too many accidents on his part, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And Colapinto, who came in, was somewhat better than Logan Sargent, but obviously Williams didn't end up keeping him, sadly, which sucked. But I thought he did do a bit better. I don't think it was great, but it was good to see Colapinto up there. I thought he was okay. But regarding Williams itself, Alex Albon kind of seemed like he did take a bit of a step back. But I wasn't saying all of it was his fault this season, but he didn't really help his case compared to last season. And then, like I mentioned earlier, with Carlos Sainz coming in, that's going to be probably Alex Albon's toughest challenger here at Williams. And if Carlos Sainz is able to match what he did with Ferrari to the best of his extent, Alex Albon needs to match Carlos Sainz. Somehow, some way. It can't just be Carlos Sainz just dominating the Williams team for next season, just outperforming Alex Albon in all categories. Because if that happens, we have to wait and see. But Williams, for me, get a D. Just, again, it wasn't great, but they get a D. Lastly, oh, brother. We get Sauber. Kick Sauber with Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. And listen, let's just make this quick and easy, and let's just give it straight to them. I don't even know where to even start with this team. If it wasn't for Guan Yu Zhou getting an 8th place finish at Qatar, they're going to finish the season with 0 points in the constructors. I mean, a straight 0. Valtteri outperformed Guan Yu easily throughout the season, but boy, was it just hard to watch Kick Sauber if you were a fan of them. I mean, every race, it was just tough. I mean, tough. But there were instances, like 1 or 2 times, especially like the second half of the season, like towards the end of the season, they were floating, flirting around that 10th, 11th, but still just coming up short. And like I said, with Guan Yu leaving, and Valtteri Bottas, which I'm very, very disappointed about Valtteri Bottas. Yes, he did out-qualify Guan Yu. He kind of did outperform. Guan Yu still finished with the team's only points. You know what I mean? So Valtteri Bottas, you could say the fall off was kind of you know what I mean? It was kind of like, whoa. But Nico Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto both coming into his Kick Sauber team for next season. We can see if they can do better than what we saw, but it's still just disappointing. It was shit. It was as simple as that. It just wasn't great. They get a straight F, and that's just that simple. Sauber, they get a straight F. Outside that is my 10 teams and my grades for all 10 teams. You guys let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Outside that, take care, stay amazing. Love you guys. See you soon. Peace.